Alright, hello everyone, my name is Shep, welcome back to the Butcher's Circus. Today we are going to be watching a match between myself and Mr. D once again. So this one is a little bit old, I just hadn't had the time to review it, but it is quite an interesting matchup. It's going to be the Stress Jester team that I made like not that long ago actually. It's kind of a new one. The Jester actually has the monkey spawn, the Pit Fighter's helm, and we're going to be playing against a full-on stress bounty hunter, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. So my abomination here has the Wretch's cloak and the Pit Fighter's helm, so he's a pretty chunky boy. He has 20 prot right away, and if I decide to use a bulwark, he's gonna have 40. And 40 prot on the abomination is a surprisingly big amount. It makes him really tough to deal with, which is good for your abomination. You want him to stay alive as long as possible, so you can use both his transformations, and by the end of the match he can keep spamming that peace spell, which gets really powerful. So we're both slamming the Crusaders, and thankfully my Crusader resists, his Crusader doesn't, so honestly a pretty good outcome for us. None of us have the move chance trinket, so both of those were 75%, so yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with how this is going. I'm gonna use a battle ballad here, so this is the biggest niche about this team, is that instead of having a man-at-arms, you have a Jester. So you have command, you have solo, you have finale, which is really useful. But no, I mean you have battle ballad instead of command, so instead of using command every once in a while to keep your accuracy up, you can just use battle ballad once, and you shall forever have very decent amounts of accuracy. So there's going to be caltrops coming down. It applies the debuff, makes us to make us take a little more stress. It applies a constant bleed, and all of his characters pretty much have Crimson Hook as a stress trinket, especially that doggy. So you can expect a lot of stress being output over here. But on the upside, we get a nice crit on that abomination, even if we miss the Crusader somehow. I mean, I guess there's round 1 dodge. But our Crusader also resists the bleed from the caltrops, which is just absolutely awesome here. It means that we aren't going to be ticking down, and it means that our Crusader will be able to stay alive a little while longer, which he does want to have happen, obviously, because we do have Writ of Execution and the Carnival Mask on there. Look at that, 17 stress on my Jester, 17 stress on my Houndmaster. This is kind of what happens when you don't have Pulsar and when you have Monkey Spawn. You just take unreal amounts of stress. So right now that Holy Lance is kind of inaccurate. There is a Writ of Execution buffing up its accuracy a little bit, but the only confirmed target is my Abomination. Goes for the Holy Lance, gets a crit for 18. The thing is, if I didn't have that Pit Fighter's helm, it would have crit for a lot harder. So that was, yeah, you can see me highlighting it. It could have been a lot worse than that, but there's a few crits on my opponent's side, one crit on my side. Now we're gonna use this beast smile. We're gonna punish him if he keeps trying to hit into this riposte. So if he keeps trying to hit into it too hard, we still have the Crusader with the heal, and every time they want to drop the Abomination down to 0, since they don't really have stuns, well, they do with the A-Bomb C-Transform Manacles, but I doubt they're gonna go for that. Since they don't have very reliable stuns, every time they hit my A-Bomb, they're gonna need to riposte, and it actually does a lot of stress. Since we have the Wretch's Cloak and the Pit Fighter's helm, we actually do plus 30% stress. You can see that the Beast Spell did like 16 on that. That should finish him doing 12 damage, and my opponent here sends a message like, wow, unlucky. But the thing is, the Daze makes him do 30% more damage, but he doesn't have any trinkets that actually do more damage against dazed characters or more damage at all. It's only against afflicted, and I do have 20 prot. So I do believe the numbers are something like 9 to 21, and with the prot it would be like something like 6 to 15, or maybe not that little, but yeah, the thing is, the damage chances weren't that much of a confirm, so that's what I'm trying to hint at here. I have decided not to use Bulwark because, honestly, it's a stress team. I don't feel like I'm gonna need it all that much. I feel like I need to do stress faster than I possibly can here. I need to get the afflictions going first, I need to get the heart attacks going first, I need to be on the commanding position here. That Abomination is gonna go D-Transform Masochistic. Not that bad of an affliction to have with an A-Bomb. Honestly, there's a way worse, but yeah, he's just gonna D-transform. He's gonna go for a Manacle Stun. Kind of lucky to get it on my Jester, honestly. It was a 70% chance, so I was actually quite surprised I went for that. He wants to prevent me from speeding up the match and using my finale, so he can keep his actions for as long as possible, so it does make sense. but it's still very risky of a play. No, it was actually an 80 because there's a Regis Cloak. Yeah, my bad. It's actually an 80. Well, still a little bit risky, but I guess I can't complain about it. Yeah, we drop another Hound's area. I do believe we hit anyone. We've still not managed to get the bleed on that Crusader, sadly. So, with that said, we aren't applying as much stress as we can to him, but there's also an upside to this. It's that while it's a Crusader, he doesn't have Sacred Blade because he's playing on a stress team, so at least he can't go Virtuous and just oof us on that, but he can do a lot of stress with that Zealous. We're probably going to see it in play right now. Bet how much stress he's going to do to my A-bomb. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. 36 stress. Because he's bleeding, right? The Crusader still took 24 and he's not even bleeding, so Crimson Hook isn't even applying the extra stress. Yeah, that Crusader is absolutely hurting us right now in terms of stress output. My Crusader hurts a lot as well. I have Carnival Mass Creative Execution. I also have a very aggressive setup. He hits a crit on that Hansari. Oh, just look at that stress. 29, 23. Absolutely unreal. Yeah, the doggy is absolutely insane once you have the Crimson Hook and something like the Caltrips debuff as well. It's brutal, it's absolutely brutal. But my Abomination is still alive and I want to keep it that way. I'm not sure how I'm gonna keep this Abomination alive, but it's really important for me to do that. Because whoever gets the second transformation off and manages to make my opponent not get the second transformation off is essentially gonna win here. I think I decide to go for a guard dog, don't I? Yeah, I go for a guard dog. It's the best way of saving my Abomination. Honestly, if I had gone for a heal, there would have just been a Zealous on top, and while I would riposte the Crusader, I would take even more stress and I would probably just die from the stress anyway. And if it was a crit, oh jeez, if it was a crit, it might have even done enough, considering just how much stress output that Crusader has right now. So we go for the guard dog, we go for the safer play. The Abomination is taking way less stress now. He goes for the Hansari, doesn't get the 25 thankfully. There's no accuracy buffs on that team. So finally we get some dodges here, which is, yeah, that's really lucky that he's been getting all these hits, because I have a very dodgy backline. 30 and 40 respectively with that Houndmaster and Jester. So only the attack whistle isn't really enough to reliably hit those characters, but we've just been getting hit pretty darn hard here. Probably gonna drop a solo right now. That's gonna cause like almost 3 afflictions actually. Only 2. Oh no, it's 3. It's 3 because of the act out. So we get 4 afflictions by round 3, which is pretty much as good as an outcome as you can get, honestly. Usually if you're playing against Mark teams with damage, you're gonna have to spend some more turns on defense, or some of your characters are gonna get locked down with stuns. But if you're playing against a team that doesn't really prevent you from outputting stress, by round 4 you should be, by round 4 you should definitely be able to have caused all the afflictions through. But by round 3 is kind of what you should aim for. You have 4 afflictions by round 3, you're doing just fine. Though my opponent kind of has 4 afflictions by round 3 on my side as well. My A-bomb is almost dead, and the Crusader and the doggy are almost afflicted, and the Jester isn't feeling too good either. He's pretty low on HP, and there's a Zealous accusation coming right now. I did drop a solo, so I have an extra 15 dodge, so I have 55 dodge, which is a pretty nice amount, and thankfully we do get it. But that is going to be a hit on my Crusader, kind of wasting some stress. And I do go Selfish, so Selfish, there's worse, but Selfish has a pass chance. And speaking of passes, that is a horrible pass. Because a Zealous right there on that A-bomb would have almost killed him. You know, Zealous probably would have dealt enough damage, would have dealt a bunch of stress with my aggressive setup, would have almost dropped that Crusader, so things are not looking up for us. They're absolutely not looking up. There's going to be a finish him on my Crusader as well. It's going to apply a lot of stress right here. I do get to go first every round, so I understand why he went for the finish him on my Crusader. You know, just to apply some extra stress and get him out of the match potentially quicker, because with a Hansari or a finish him by the start of the next round, he's gonna be just chilling here. I decide to go for a Slam on that Abomination. I don't get the 50-50 push. That's what I get from not bringing the Red Tiara's net. But I do get the second transformation off, which is gonna apply a lot of horror to his characters, and it's really gonna help me out. Some decent stress on that act out, 7 on everyone, that's pretty good. He's also gonna transform. I wonder what he goes for. Honestly, if I were him, there are a lot of things you can go for, but I would go for a Slam on the Jester. He goes for a Slam on the Abomination, does get the kill, gets the 40% kill, but that means that my Jester is going to be able to get a finale off on whoever he wants. I believe I only have 2 finale buffs at this point because I was stunned, but I have an extra 16% crit chance, so my chance of getting crits here is pretty darn good. pretty darn good. But I want to kill that Abomination as quickly as possible. But I don't really want to drop a finale on the Abomination right now. I don't feel like he's worth that much. But he's worth enough that I don't want to let him de-transform and go Absolution. But let's see what I do here. I decide to click my Jester, wasting some of that stress, but also getting myself afflicted in the process. And we go Hopeless. Hopeless is making me do minus 20% damage. And we are rolling for not that good of a chance. 33% crit chance on that doggy, and we low roll. That's not good. That's not good. That's a surrender moment. That is an absolute surrender moment right there. Jester is afflicted. He's has the finale debuff plus 100% stress taken. Like, one Hound Siren is pretty much dead with the horror on top. My Crusader is pretty much about to die. My doggy isn't too healthy. The Crusader is dead actually. There's a confirmed finish him from that Houndmaster. My doggy is gonna go afflicted right now. Let's see what we get. We get Paranoid, which does give me an extra 10 dodge. That's actually pretty good. I highlight it immediately. Oh, 14 stress on the Jester, jeez. But now we go for the Hound Siren. We get a death blow. We get a 25% death blow, which here was very much necessary because we didn't have enough stress being output on the Abomination. And we get the absolutely amazing triple extra stress from the A-Bomb dying. It's a 33% chance on every single one of those characters. And we just do an absolute double wave of stress right there. So things are suddenly not looking all that bad for us because that Bounty Hunter is pretty much dead. And while the doggy isn't, he's also going to drop the Death Star, and he has a lot of horror on top of him as well. And maybe with another Hound Siren, maybe with a solo, we will be okay here. Oh, look at that. 8 and 9. 8 and 9. Those are humongous amounts right there. And he decides to go for a Guard Dog, which I'm going to have to disagree with. I don't think the Guard Dog is enough to save your Bounty Hunter, and I don't think the Guard Dog is enough to save your Houndmaster, because I have a Battle Ballad, something you don't have, so I have extra accuracy. The reason he didn't want to go for a Hound Siren there is because he would probably just die by the start of the next round. He kind of wanted to get lucky with a dodge or two, and he felt like his Hound Siren wouldn't hit my dog, which it wouldn't. He has like, what is it, 97 accuracy minus 10 from being at that store, so that's like 87, and the affliction is probably minus 5. So he has like 82 accuracy against 60 dodge. There really isn't much he can do. Here we drop the Hound Siren. He decides to go for a heal on that Bounty Hunter, so it keeps him alive for a little bit, but it really is only for a little bit. The doggy dies from another 25, or was it a 40 this time? I'm not too sure, but the doggy is gone. However, the Bounty Hunter has a heart attack, which actually helps him right here, because it resets his stress back to 175. He was gonna die if there wasn't a heart attack. He would click, he would tick down to death's door because of the blights from the Abomination. Bless his soul. He's long gone, but he's still impacting the match with the blights and the horror. That's almost enough to get him down. But now this Bounty Hunter can do just about anything he wants. He can go for a pull, or he can go for a finish him. I believe that's his chances here. He decides to go for a pull on my doggy, so he can actually he can actually be in harm's reach. And it's also a very high accuracy ability, so I'm not surprised that it actually lands. And my Jester passes. Obviously, instead of killing that Bounty Hunter with the stress and causing the Crusader to have a heart attack and then take extra stress because of the horror, the Bounty Hunter manages to stay alive, and now there's going to be a heal. The thing is, if I had gone for a solo, a Zealous Accusation could have very well killed both my characters, but I still would be willing to take that chance, because unless you would get like a 35% death blow, I would have been fine here. And what do you do if you're in this position right now? Because this is rough. I can go for stuns, I can go for Hound Sirens. The thing is, not doing enough stress is actually a good thing for me right now because of the DOT. So if I don't do enough stress to those characters, which I don't, by the time they click, I can force my opponent to actually lose one of their characters right now. So I think this has a name in German. It's like, or maybe it isn't German, maybe it's, I'm not too sure, but there's like a term in chess where you're put in a position where you don't want to move either of your characters. I think it's like Zugzwang or something really, really impossible for me to pronounce. You have to move, but you don't want to do either of the choices that you have to pick. So he decides to pick the Crusader. Crusader is gone. The Bounty Hunter has a heart attack. There's horror on him. There's my Jester with an action right now. Things could still go very poorly. If my Jester decides to pass again, I will be dead to horror next round, but thankfully I don't pass. I drop a solo, and that's gonna be a dead Bounty Hunter with that horror being applied. So I hope y'all enjoyed that match. It was kind of a fast one, but it was still pretty good one. Wait, let's just see. Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. If my Jester had decided to pass again, he would have enough horror to just die by the start of next round, and the Bounty Hunter would get a confirmed death blow on my Houndmaster right now because he had both the Infamous Visage and the Sanity's Bane. So Sanity's Bane, very weird trinket to run, but it does give you an extra 25% death blow chance. So when the characters are afflicted, so with the finish him, it would have been a confirmed chance of pretty much getting a kill, as long as he hit. But considering he has both those trinkets, he has pretty much finisher accuracy right there, so he did have a pretty decent chance of getting that hit. So I hope you all enjoy the match, and I'll see you again another time. Cheers.